to the confirmation of the minutes. I've just got one on the ordinary meeting on the 27th of May 2020. In regards to operating to the local meetings, to Councillor O'Neill, was it your preference to start in the motion? I had originally that we started at 6 o'clock for supper. Was it your idea that you were changing it to 5:30? Is that your understanding of that motion?
Page.
Well, I just have to pull her up. It would be page 52. For the night meeting I'm talking about, I had it at 6 o'clock, half an hour supper with the residents, and then we start the meeting at 6:30.
No, I see. But you're talking about for the meetings that start at 6:30. Yeah.
Like Mr. Mayor, I think it was we talked about just for having a bit extra time with the public, that extra half an hour.
So was your understanding, Councillor O'Neill, that it was 5:30?
Well, you do a 5:30 for a 6 o'clock start, would you? I mean, you want to make sure people are there to have supper. But 5:30 is fine.
Right, okay. That's all I've got on those. Does anyone wish to move on those minutes of the ordinary meeting of the 27th?
Mr. Mayor, I'll move the minutes of the ordinary meeting on the 27th of May 2020 be accepted as true and correct.
We have a seconder, Councillor Guthrie. Any opposition to that motion? Does anyone wish to speak to it? Then we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Okay, moving on to the budget submissions and financial standing committee, 3rd of June 2020. Do we have anyone that would like to move on those minutes? Page 40.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move the minutes for the budget submission and financial planning standing committee, 3rd of June 2020 be accepted as true and correct.
We have a seconder. Councillor Burkett, any opposition to that? Does anyone wish to speak to it? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. And the confirmation of minutes from the special meeting, 3rd of June, page 47. We have anyone to move on those minutes?
Mr. Mayor, just to clarify your question before about the meeting times, that wasn't in the ordinary minutes, that was in the special.
Yeah, whatever page.
Yeah, okay.
47 was. Page 52. Yep.
I move that the special meeting of the 3rd of June 2020 be confirmed.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor O'Neill, any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Okay, declarations of conflict of interest. Councillor Lathrop.
Yep. With Humphreys Road, I have to read this out. I, Councillor Lathrop, declare that material personal interest as defined in Local Government Act 2009, Section 175B for the agenda item C6, with the subject heading is Humphreys Road, and the person to gain is myself, and the reason for my conflict is the use of Humphreys Road, my personal use of Humphreys Road. So, in accordance with the section 175C, the Local Government Act, I will leave the room while the matter is being discussed and voted on.
Just looking at the table, we might clarify the full subject. C6. Councillor.
So what is it?
C6.
C6, if you could read out the total heading there.
And just on the
Yeah, page 4, you have
C6. C6.
just in the,
Sorry.
in the black there.
So just read all that out.
just in black.
Just the heading.
Yeah.
Bold.
Addition to the road register extension of Humphreys Road's length requested to rename Humphreys Road classification.
That's fine.
Very good. Okay, any other conflicts? Or we'll go with Councillor Hancock.
Mr Mayor, item C28, Council News, June edition. I declare that whilst I don't have a conflict with the Council News, I do have a material personal interest conflict with the distribution of the Council News, as it is being posted, or suggested to be posted locally. So I declare that I have a conflict of a material personal interest conflict as defined by section 175D of the Local Government Act 2009. As my husband Graham Hancock owns the Stirrat Post Office and stands to gain a benefit or suffer a loss depending on the outcome of Council's distribution of the Council News, I'll be dealing with this matter by leaving the room when the matter is discussed and voted on.
Okay. Any others? Councillor
Yeah, I'll have a declaration of conflict of interest with C21, Bring a Heritage Group Incorporated, renewal of commercial tenancy agreement. I have a motion that's on the committee, so I'll leave the room and that becomes discussed.
Yep, so is that a conflict of interest?
Yeah,
So,
conflict of interest option, yeah.
okay.
Option 1.
Option 1. Okay, any others? Okay, we'll move on to the agenda. Item 5.1, proposed local road standing committee and draft policy terms of reference. I've got a question to the CEO in regards to last time that there was talk that we could delegate a decision-making power to the standing committee. Is that, I see some information in the report, but on clarity of that, is that able to be done or is it not able?
So we've attached, Mr Mayor, examples of the types of powers that can be delegated to that committee. But it's not a blanket delegation. The council will have to specify which powers that committee to use or be able to use.
Okay, so it's not blanket, so you couldn't decide anything about roads.
No, it's under the section of the Local Government Act that deals with delegations. You can delegate to the standing committee, but only particular powers, not blanket decision making. the reason, Mr Mayor, that we've taken a different recommendation, that we think it probably would become too cumbersome if that's the approach that we took. So in lieu of that and the experiences of the recent initial meetings for the new term, I think it's probably a better recommendation to suggest that we have a briefing on matters that are of particular interest to the new term of council in lieu of another formal meeting structure. Because with a formal meeting comes agendas, minutes, and it is another layer of complexity. So I think what council is seeking to achieve could be, in terms of the receipt of information and particular areas of focus, could be done very effectively in a briefing and
I've got a question.
Please go ahead. Through you, Mayor.
So just with the new, the updated recommendation to the CEO, if council chose to go that way, the structure of that meeting is up to council, isn't it? So could we, for example, have an advertised roads briefing on that day and invite deputations from people that have significant concerns about XYZ road or whatever the circumstances might be? They could come to that briefing and brief council from their perspective. Is that what is it in our hands what we could do with the briefing?
Well, that's, I guess, probably what I'm thinking in terms of deputations. If that's the outcome that can, and I know there was broad discussion about that concept of inviting residents to meet with councillors, that can happen at any time of the day and the night, if that's what councillors chose. It doesn't need to be.
But sorry, through you again, Mayor, it's up to council how we want that. If that day was to happen, this day before the ordinary meeting, it could be briefings from staff, but we could advertise a particular topic being roads and invite people in. It's up to us to make that decision, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. We might just suspend the meeting for 15 minutes. And we'll be back in 15. Okay, thank you. I might resume. So we had a question, didn't we, CEO? Where were we up to? Did you have a question, Councillor O'Neill?
We're just talking about that if council supported the recommendation to have that additional briefing, that'll be briefing from staff as we've discussed about having a majority view of working out what we need briefings. But I just wondered if we can tailor it to how we want it as well, because I think there is a real need to have an opportunity for residents to bring issues particularly around roads. And I think whilst I supported the road standing committee because it elevated the concern that had been shared with all of us, if we had a briefing session on a regular basis where we invited those people to come and talk to us collectively, or sometimes that briefing might in fact be jumping in a bus and going out and seeing the issue. I was just wondering if we can tailor it to how we want it. Like, I know there's a need for briefings. That's evident from the discussions that have been had on email and in these, forums in the last couple of weeks. But we've still got to elevate the importance, particularly of roads.
Could I make a suggestion, though?
So that was a question, other than a statement, of course.
The suggestion would be, though, that if there are deputations, potentially that's something that councillors might want to allocate time each week for, because we're just a little bit concerned. We're finding that there's an and councillors will feel this way as well during meetings, that there is a significant need for that informal conversation, discussion, getting the background to matters. And our only concern is that if we have a limited time available during the daylight hours for a briefing, if deputations come in on top of that time, then we will lose that dedicated time for the much needed briefing, particularly for the new councillors coming in with a lot of background information to be sourced. So ideally, the deputation, which can happen at any time, whether officers are here or not, that can happen at a time that's convenient to the councillors, and then the briefing can happen during the day.
Yes, please.
I too am I too really thought the standing committee would be so that we did definitely allocate time, because I just wanted to make sure that we have, but now I'm a bit the same as Councillor O'Neill. I just feel, you know, if it's easier and less formal and we can have people come and tell us their problems or whatever it is, but I just need to know that we're still committed to doing it on a regular basis.
Probably sounds a little bit like a debate, so I think we should get going with that. So just because we had an adjournment, item 5.1, proposed local government's standing committee draft policy terms of reference. I would like to move that we do not have an additional briefings on days prior to the council ordinary meeting for the areas of interest to the new council, in addition to an additional committee, and not have a formation of a local road standing committee for debate, and use our special meetings needed for roads issues, because they are a decision-making device. Also for the special meetings when roads are an issue to be brought up, that we invite to our special meetings a deputation if so needed. Okay, do we have a second for that motion? Councillor Guthrie. Would anyone wish to speak against the motion? Councillor O'Neill. Would anyone wish to speak? Councillor Guthrie.
I just think that if we are not going to be having the road advisory meetings that have been held in the past, that suggestion made or that motion that's presented, it would be good to have deputation and be able to access, or have people be able to access us and to further our knowledge of what the road conditions are like and what are topical issues or things to be addressed.
I'd just like, sorry.
Well, we might go against first. Councillor O'Neill.
Well, the motion is fairly complicated now, because you've moved that you don't support having additional briefings the day prior to the council ordinary meeting, and you've moved that we don't have the formation of a road standing committee. So I think it is a fairly busy motion. But look, I'm going to speak against the part of the resolution which is in relation to the additional briefings that have been proposed to fall a day before the council ordinary meetings. I think they're needed. If the last 2.5 months is anything to go by, there is a significant amount of information, issues, complexities that this council's got to get across, myself included. I think we need the additional day to ensure that we are working as part of a council team, having those discussions, having deputations, calling people in, whether it's staff or external, relevant to the matters before us. I think we could structure it that there is a roads briefing where the many people that speak to us individually and collectively about the concerns that they have for roads, they could come and meet with us on that day. Or we could go and meet with them on that day. But it is a structured, formalised in our diary, locked out the day before an ordinary meeting of council. We know that there's going to be council commitments, whether that's deputations from said resident, or briefings from staff, or briefings that the councillors need to ensure that they're getting across all the information to make the decisions. I think this is imperative, and I mean, I've heard a lot over the last few weeks around the commitment that we need to bring to council. Well, the previous council settled on the day before the council meet, the ordinary meeting of council, 1 week, and the Wednesday in the off week, by trial and error, and it ended up working. Now, we didn't fulfil the whole days all the time, we largely did, but we need to lock in these opportunities so that as councillors, we have access to the people we need to talk to. And that access will be external people to council. That access, as I said, will be residents that want to bring issues to us. I've seen emails of suggestions of deputations from people unrelated to roads already. They want to come and speak with council. We've got gas companies, we've got NRM groups, we'll have the hospital board want to come and talk to us as well. We need to have an appropriate time scheduled, and I think the suggestion and recommendation that's been put forward in allocating that day before the ordinary meeting of council is an appropriate one. And so on that basis, I'll be voting against the motion that's before us.
Well, I think Councillor Edwards, did you want to speak to the motion?
No, I just wanted to ask, sorry, I just wanted to ask a question.
Oh,
in
sure,
relation
please go
to what was proposed. So I think I heard it correctly, no briefings, no standing committee and a special meeting, is that correct?
Yeah, no extra briefings.
No
so we
extra
still have the
briefings.
briefings every second Wednesday.
Briefings
Yeah, like that's part of our policy already.
Yep.
And also, yeah, and there will be no standing committee. In lieu of that, we have our special meetings, which is in the motion to have them to deal with roads issues.
Which can be called at any time, is that correct?
Yeah, and we generally do that on the off week, but we can call a special meeting at any time. Okay, would that question's been answered?
Clarify. So really the only difference between briefings and special meetings is in the fact that a special meeting can be a decision-making device, whereas a briefing is just information too. And
Or the sharing.
or the sharing of information. And Madam CEO did mention that that there's really limited delegations to be able to make decisions. You clarified that a little bit earlier.
Yeah, it would be a fairly complex and narrow decision-making process within the community. I guess from observations, a lot of what we're doing in the ordinary meeting is
A mixture of the two.
is a briefing, right? And that's, I guess, evidenced by the length of time between decisions. So I just thought that there would be merit in separating that from the meeting where it can be done in a fairly informal fashion. It's not just briefing councillors, but it's also questions and answers in a fairly relaxed forum. So that was my recommendation.
With no decisions being made at that briefing.
Yeah, and it's a point that Councillor Mcmullen has raised in the past, in terms of there does need to be rigor, but there's no informal decisions made. It's purely an exchange of information.
Councillor Mcmullen?
Yeah, that's correct, thanks, Mr Mayor. That's if we're having standing committees, but I believe that we should be having special meetings because specifically in the last term, the number of participants in our advisory meetings just dropped off because nothing was happening. They come in and have their say, and that'll be the end of it. If we go to special meetings, and we're talking about roads, local road standing committees here, if we make them a special meeting so the people can come in, yes, we may not make a decision on fixing the road, but we can may move a motion to get a report done or something rather than just advisory meetings that was just written and documented and most of it never acted on.
I've got a question based on what Councillor Mcmullen just said. power could be delegated to the standing committee to resolve, to get reports done.
Oh, yeah, look.
Well, that, it would just, it's not a power as such, it would just be a recommendation to the ordering meeting.
So that's not, it can be done.
No, but that's not the same thing.
Can I just clarify though, I think it's important not to confuse standing committee and the advisory committees, because the advisory committees are very much just a community engagement technique, so that there are other people external to council. The special meeting is a council matter. It's for councillors and to make a particular decision, and it's very structured in terms of agendas, the provision of written advice to council. It's not intended to be a community engagement technique.
Will anyone wish to speak against the motion?
I just would like to speak, Mr Mayor, is that okay?
Welcome to speak. Yep.
So, I have, roads issue was a very big issue when we were campaigning, so we all acknowledge that. I agree with Councillor Taylor. I'm worried that we're not giving priority to a roads forum of some sort. I am also concerned that we're saying that we don't want extra briefings when on the Wednesday of the off-council week we have already committed ourselves to a standing budget meeting, maybe a special meeting and briefings. We actually tried that last Wednesday and we were here at, what was it, 9:30 or something. We've tried that. It's too much to get through on one day to give adequate, like if we have added a roads meeting into last Wednesday, I don't know what time we would have got home, let alone be able to actually take in all that information and make responsible decisions all on one day. I personally believe we do need some extra briefings, maybe even for the interim where we're trying to have our budget standing committee meetings, which may not happen all the time once we do the budget, but right now we need briefings to fully understand everything that's going into our budget that we're having budget meetings on. So roads is going to be a huge impact on our budget, and I'm feeling that we are not giving enough time to actually do council business in here and understand what we're actually having to vote on to be able to formulate a budget in time. So that is why I actually believe we do need more briefings, and we do need the opportunity to actually just focus on road, invite those community members in. And from what I understand, if we had a briefing on the Tuesday or even on the Wednesday, we can hold a special meeting. So if there was something that came up, as you said, we can hold a special meeting at any stage. So we could call forward and work out a resolution by calling a special meeting. I'm just also feeling that we're holding special meetings. It seems that we're going to hold special meetings every Wednesday, and to me the special meetings are just a bit of a leftover from the ordinary meeting. So really what we're doing is we're having meetings every week, which I believe is putting a huge impact on our staff and the actual timelines about being able to actually turn around all the agendas, all the minutes and all the reports that are required to go into all these meetings. I'm very conscious that they actually need time to actually do the job of putting forward the policies as well and do the work that comes out of these meetings. So I actually am asking for more briefings, not only on roads but on other areas, but I actually want specific briefings on roads because it actually goes into our budget, which we're making decisions on.
Councillor Burkett.
Mine's a question too. I'm a bit on the fence. I can see pros and cons for both arguments, but my question before was like if we did have a briefing the day before and we want to generate a motion, that's what I was worried about, because I agree that we need to have a situation where we can rule on it straight away so it's not delayed another 2 or 3 weeks, especially if it's an emergency. So my question was, if we did have the briefing the day before, is there any chance we can get late business into the following day meeting, or is that too close? That's probably the
question for the CEO.
It really depends on the complexity of the
Of this
issue.
situation.
Yeah, Councillor Burkett, we put some parameters around that because we were getting more and more of that Tuesday and then trying to gather information overnight. So in theory, yes, there were, and the continuing councillors will attest to this, that there were quite often reports, you know, right up until the council meeting. So yes, there can be delayed items. I just caution if there is information to be gathered, whether that can practically be done overnight.
Yeah.
That's the only concern. I guess if I could also comment is that something else that we found after the last time is that having two formal meetings on the one day is fraught with complexity. As you appreciate, last time we had one meeting still running when the other one was scheduled to start. So with special meetings, we have to have a commencement time. So we had meetings on top of meetings last time. And what that did, and I'm going to take her will attest to as well, is that we then had to get those minutes of the two formal meetings into the agenda for the next meeting for the confirmation of those minutes. So it was really, really compressed to get that turnaround time. So that's what, with that formal meeting structure comes all of those additional steps. Whereas a briefing is just a conversation, there's nothing surrounding that. The other thing is that it is in daylight hours, so that you'll have the opportunity to get that information that council does later and go to the additional meetings.
Councillor Taylor?
Well, just to be a little bit helpful, if we had our briefings before the special meeting, or the day before the special meeting, so the special meetings on the off days, so if we had a briefing on the Tuesday before those, well then you'd have another week to get it into the minutes, to the agenda for the ordinary meeting. Is that right? Technically, sort of. So maybe we could do it that way. Instead of having the briefings on the day before the ordinary meeting, have the briefings on the day before the special meetings. That way there would be more time to get it into an agenda if we wanted to bring up something or, you know, decide on something in our ordinary meeting. I honestly too do believe we need briefings, and I would like to make sure we've got that time for those.
Okay, Councillor Edwards?
Thanks, Gold. I'd just like to know, so we talk about sort of meetings and length of meetings, seems to be coming up quite a bit, but being a new councillor, I'd like to ask, are the length of our meetings any longer compared to other councils? And are these at normal times we're in now? Is that why we're having such long meetings? Is it because of stuff that would normally be to, you know, the agenda's longer than what they would be normally? You know, I just don't know the answer to that, so that's what I'm asking. I know we seem to have a lot of stuff to get through, but is that normal? That's what I'd like to know.
Yeah, sure.
Councillor Edwards, just with the Mayor's permission, we have collected data through a Section 178 request from the Mayor to give some indication across the last term, the length of meetings, page numbers, all of that sort of thing. With the Mayor's permission, I can circulate that.
Yeah, that's fine.
So,
So I'd just like to be advised that just once again getting factual information about this, so I really need to know what the facts are.
the Mayor's happy for that to be circulated to all councillors. I can do that immediately. However, one other comment that has been talked about a fair bit is about how do we shorten the lengths of the meetings, and that's something that the councillors have expressed an interest in for this term as well. The way to do that is through the development of policies, because the policy gives the instructions to the organisation as to how we handle particular matters. However, we're in a little bit of a catch-22 because unless we have some policy development, for want of a better word, workshops where councillors can sit around and really throw around ideas and use the word workshop or discuss potential policies, we can't shorten the meetings. So we've got a little bit of a circular reference happen. We actually need more briefings to be able to develop additional policies so that we can shorten the meetings. Does that make sense?
Sorry, one more. Just if we decide to kind of go into the whole meeting trial debate again like we did the other day, but is it a trial like what Councillor Edwards said, when things start cooling down because of the COVID? Like a lot of previous meetings were taken up, a lot of those sort of requests. Can we trial either way and see how we're going when things start getting back to normal? Because if we make this decision today, we can revisit that decision, can't we?
Yeah, you can.
And once we get the roads fixed, we'll be right.
Yeah, well, we might.
And I guess through you, Mr. Mayor, that's a really good point that CEO makes, is if we're only meeting once a week, and we're only meeting once a fortnight, we're going to do a budget standing meeting, we're going to do special meetings, we're going to do briefings, and we're going to do policy development. I am unsure what time we're going to get home on that off Wednesday. And to be able to actually even deal with all that in one day, I'm just wondering, is there a reason that I'm unaware of that we can't meet other than on a Wednesday? I'm just wondering if there is a reason that we can't do that.
I'd just like to agree with what is being said. I think we need to be meeting 2 days a week. I think that's a given with the amount of work that we've got on our plates. My only concern or consideration is, what are we calling the second meeting? Is it a briefing? Is it and I'm thinking that why I endorsed or why I seconded the Mayor's motion was because a special meeting is a decision-making device. I do believe we need to be meeting 2 days a week. I think we should be putting it on our calendars Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and then having that we're not going from 9 till 8:30 or something. We've got a smaller day, but I do think we need to be meeting 2 days a week. My concern is whether it be a briefing or a special meeting. I would go with special meeting only because it's decision making.
However, you need the information to be able to make those decisions. So that brings with it, don't forget, the agendas, the minutes, the additional.
Video.
Okay, so we better keep going with the debate, and I think we should probably limit it to just one person speaking every time, because otherwise our meeting's going to get longer and longer. I'll speak for the motion. We have briefings more than 1 day a week as required, and I'm happy to have that. Next Monday we're having another briefing, a different day, so that is happening. And I have been watching Council operate and definitely believe we need the decision-making special meetings. Briefings, I believe that we organise that with the majority of councillors, and I'm happy to make that change to have that on another day if extra is required, as we've done next Monday, and you'll see that in the report. But the number one thing is, we've got to be careful we don't meet for meeting's sake and not have the decisions coming out of council. So this is a way that focuses on our special meetings to deal with our roads issue, and I believe it will be, an ongoing thing for a large time to come. And we are in a situation that we will be opening back up to the people. Councillors, new councillors, won't realise that the amount of things that are on in the community that you will be asked to go to. So I believe, as we're doing next Monday, we're having an extra briefing, which is an extra day. I believe that this motion will allow the most flexibility and the ability to be able to deliver for the people of the Maranoa. Anyone hasn't spoken? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? All those against?
6-3, if I can call for a division. Page 81. Item 5.2, review of report deadlines to an ordinary meeting and other meetings, including briefings. I would like to move point number 2, not to proceed with item 1 and approve the proposed meeting report deadline schedule as presented. We have a seconder, Councillor Mcmullen. Any opposition to the motion? Does the mover wish to speak to the motion? Councillor O'Neill, do you wish to speak?
Yes, I do. Largely what I'm about to share here, we've already spoken about this morning. The introduction of the agenda familiarisation briefings was an essential part of, I believe, the good governance of the previous term of council. We can see from our agenda packs here, there is substantial reports to get through that relate to confidential matters of council. By dealing with those matters and asking questions on an ordinary meeting of council, we are adding significant time to our ordinary meetings. That was evident in the previous term, and that's why we introduced the agenda familiarisation session, so that if there were any questions that came from the confidential items of council, they could be put to the relevant staff the day before, and that information could either be provided then or could be collated overnight and provided for the ordinary meeting the following day. It also allowed that there was a smooth flow, largely, of an ordinary meeting of council. You weren't opening and closing, going into committee, coming out of committee, asking the general public to leave the meeting, asking the media to leave the meeting, for whatever time that may be. You could never determine what time that would be. And then getting them back thereafter. And quite often, you would see that the general public that had been interested in the start of the meeting, that were there for the open part, they didn't stay around to join the meeting once we'd been through the committee process, and then come back out into the open part of the council where we make decisions. And that was also the case for the media. They'd be there for the morning, and then other issues to their workload would take them in a different direction, and therefore the reporting on matters that were in committee and then ultimately brought out of committee for decision were not largely reported on in the media because they just simply weren't in the room. Now, at the moment, that's a different case. It's being recorded, which is great, but at some point, I am sure that the media would love to be back in the room. I'm sure the community would love to be back in the room as well. And so therefore, I think it's imperative that we have agenda familiarisation briefings the day before, and it gives, as I said, an opportunity for councillors to ask questions in a forum which includes all the other councillors, and we hear those questions. It may trigger further questions of us as councillors as well to ask the staff. There is no debate, there is no broad discussion about matters in the agenda familiarisation. And I think it would be an imperative part of council to ensure that we are having those briefings once again, and it would be to, in my mind, keep a high level of good governance on the operation of the Maranoa Regional Council.
Would anyone else like to speak to the motion?
I just want to speak, Mr. Mayor.
Please go ahead.
Once again, we've already just discussed a lot of this, but I'm just, with respect to yourself and Councillor Mcmullen and Councillor O'Neill, who actually have a basis to make the decision, this decision on, because you've already had the opportunity to work with the briefings on the Tuesday before the meeting on the Wednesday and last term. But with respect to us 6 new councillors, we actually haven't had that opportunity to know what that's like and how that might affect the information we've been given. So, and I also am aware that it's a recommendation from our staff who value the briefings. So with all that in mind, I'm wondering whether we would be able to trial, like Councillor Burkett said, could we trial it for 3 months so that we actually then have a basis of, well, we know how that feels and how that might work, And then we can make a decision whether it works or not. I'm just wondering if you'd be open for a trial, Mr Mayor, so we have the same information that yourself and Councillor Mcmullen and Councillor O'Neill have, which we haven't had that experience.
Would anyone else wish to speak? Well, I'll wish to speak. I certainly don't wish to do a trial of the agenda familiarisation. Sometimes in the last term it didn't even happen because council were busy on other things, and council survived through our council meetings quite fine. The other thing is, I'd just like to caution councillors that I do believe our meetings are going to get shorter. We also, we're probably at the most difficult end at the moment. We also are in a situation where, as council, we have an opportunity by passing this motion to allow for reports to come out 1 week before like on the Monday, as I understand, of the week instead of getting them on Friday or Saturday. If we're talking about good governance, this is the ultimate in good governance, being able to get the reports, have more time to read them, reread them, ask questions, reduce the need to have staff asking questions when we can get answers, and I'm happy for those answers to be shared with the whole council, because generally when someone's got a question, someone else has got a question. This is an opportunity to streamline. It's a bit like the number 27 bus. If you don't get on that bus, you get on the next one, and that's what the meeting schedule should be about. And we also have our special meetings if something is crucial to be done. But this is an opportunity of better governance and giving councillors more time to read reports. And also, if we're in a situation that we can get our reports on the Monday for the next Wednesday, I believe council will be more informed and will be better on the organisation. Would anyone else wish to speak? Okay, on that note, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? 6-3 if I can call for a division. Item 10.1, request for councillor briefing. I'd like to move to hold a councillor briefing on Monday the 15th of June 2020 from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. 2, confirm the single item for discussion at the councillor briefing is the Mayor's operating locally proposal. And 3, hold the briefing in the Ernest Brock Room, Aroma Cultural Centre, with participation by the Mayor and councillors and executive leadership team, Chief Executive Officer, Directors and Deputy Director. Okay, do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Burkett, any opposition to this?
Can I just query, Mr Mayor, if we could consider the time, and is it possible to look at a 9 o'clock start till 12 o'clock, just because we were given an invitation to another event for all councillors? Would it be possible to look at an earlier start?
I'm happy for the amendment. I won't be able to get there till 9:30, but I don't think that's a...
I think all councillors should be there, but 9:30, are we happy with that?
Could we consider 9:30?
Unless they can change,
No, I think it's fair to take consideration there. So I'm happy to change the motion to 9:30. Do you want to shorten it up then to 12:30?
If we could,
Yep,
just to enable us to.
And are you happy to second that,
Yep.
Councillor Burkett?
Yep.
Yep. And so I'll speak to the motion. This is an opportunity and it puts in practice that we can have briefings other days, and I believe that we could have a mechanism to do this if councillors want to have other briefings other days. We obviously do have every second week we have briefings, but we also can hold where it's in a major issue for council and council support that by the majority view of council, that we can have other briefings on other days. So this is happening. Does anyone else wish to speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Item 10.2, expense reimbursement policy. Yeah, I vote we lay this on the table for later in the meeting. All those in favour? 9-0. Then we'll be over to page 134. Item 13.1, Services Australia SIRAT Agency Agreement 2020 to 2021. Councillor Hancock.
I move that council receive and note the National Agents and Access Points NAAP program 2020 to 2021 notice of contract extension.
Okay, do we have a seconder for that? Councillor O'Neill, any opposition to the motion? Does anyone wish to speak to it? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Item 14.1, extra services for the Maranoa. I would like to request that an agenda, a report be prepared for an upcoming council meeting. We have a seconder, Councillor Edwards. Any opposition to the motion?
Just a question.
Sure.
Through you, Mayor. Julie, there was a resolution on the books in relation to this facility to sell it and or demolish it. And therefore, that would contradict a resolution of council.
You need to do it, search the minutes, Councillor.
I'm happy to lay this on the table till later in the meeting. All those in favour? 9-0. We might break for morning tea. Back into close. We might keep going, we've got everyone here. What time is it? Let's see. 11:13, we'll start again.
I was going to say, Mr. Mayor, I move to go into close.
Righto, we have a seconder. I'll look at Councillor Burkett. All those in favour? That's 9-0. Councillor Mcmullen. Did you,
Do you want to call it or just?
yeah, well, so what do we do? C5. C5, Bigger Regal Community Flyer Project Overview and Update.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move that we lay this on the table to further in the meeting to receive more advice.
Okay, we have we don't need a seconder. All those in favour? 9-0. We might break for lunch, eh? Just on that. Oh, we're going to move back to closed, haven't we?
Yeah. I'll move we go to the committee.
Yep, we've got a seconder. Councillor Burkett, all those in favour? 9-0. declaration.
I, Councillor Mark Edwards, declare I have received conflict of interest for agenda item C14, with the subject heading application for round 2 in 20. Because I'm a member of the Roma Historical Precincts Inc. I determine this personal interest is not of sufficient significance, but it will lead to a decision on the matter that is contrary to the public interest or best perform my responsibility of serving the overall public interest of the whole of the Council. By participating in the discussion and voting on the matter, I acknowledge that the remaining councillors must now determine pursuant to section 175E of the Local Government Act 2009. A, whether I have a real conflict of interest in this matter or perceived conflict of interest in this matter, and B, if so, whether I must leave the meeting while this matter is discussed or voted on, or 2, I may participate in the meeting in relation to the matter, including by voting on the matter.
Okay, so does someone want to move on that? Has anyone got that?
Yeah, I have. So just a question before I do. Councillor Edwards, you don't hold an executive position on the Roma Historical Precinct Committee or anything?
No, I'm only a member.
All right. Mayor, I'll move that Councillor Edwards has a perceived conflict of interest in the matter, and notwithstanding the conflict, Councillor Edwards may participate in the matter discussed and vote upon it.
Okay, we have a seconder, Councillor Mcmullen. All those in favour? All those against? 8-0. Did you have another one too, Councillor Edwards?
Yes.
LC2.
Yeah, LC2.
It's the airport you're referring to, isn't it?
Yeah.
LC2.
Easy charges. Okay. I, Councillor Mark Edwards, declare that I have a conflict of interest for agenda item LC2. The subject heading financial year 2021 fees and charges airports. Because I'm a member of the Roma Hero Club, and it mentions in there something about licences, etc. Therefore, I'll be dealing with this matter by leaving the room while the matter is discussed and voted upon.
Okay, righto, we've got that declaration, so that one's done.
I'll move we go into committee.
We have a seconder, Councillor Mcmullen. All those in favour? 9-0. Into the break, 10 minutes. We'll be back into it. Okay, we will start up again. And what's the first?
We're still in committee, Councillor?
Just
Round.
Yeah.
got to see one. The pink one.
What did we do last time?
It's always been
I think we've got one in white, haven't we?
Yes, we have. That's what
Should we leave one here? Do you have one to go with it?
I think there is.
There was a name, oh, you lay on the table.
So that's
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so we do this one first.
Carol, what do we have left?
You've got on the confidentials, you've got items 10.2, 14.1 and 6.5.
Okay, which one you would like to do first, Kel?
Confidential.
Confidential.
Righto, we'll do then.
Psych ourselves up.
Okay,
You were confident,
page 6. Item C1, recommendation to purchase 9 single cab 4x2 utilities. And I would like to move, I think there's some wording there, Kel, I think, on one of the motions. Oh yeah, I can just read that. Okay, I'd like to move that we carry forward, or council carries forward, carry forward the funding and not proceed with the purchase at this time.
The council carried forward
Not proceed with the purchase at this time.
funding to 2021.
Yeah, carry forward to 2021 the funding.
Sorry, the council carried forward the funding to 2021.
Oh, I've got it in the wrong place, yeah. Yeah, to 2021, sorry. You happy with that? Okay, do we have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Ladbrook. Any opposition to the motion? Does the mover wish to speak to the motion? Does anyone wish to speak in opposition?
Sorry, is the mover speaking to the motion?
I might actually, yeah, I'll speak to the motion. This motion is not about putting off the capital plan purchases. It is just shifting them to what is only a period of a few months or less, and it's important to renew the plan, but it probably will help with making sure if we do purchase plant that we can get it in and out quicker, and I see some benefits in other areas of shifting, carrying this forward. Okay, would anyone wish to speak for the motion? I mean against the motion? Councillor O'Neill.
I'll speak against the motion. I think our staff have done a power of work in getting to this point, in illustrating that there is a need for this investment. I think by delaying it, as you've already shared, a handful of months can have a financial impact on our rate base. The vehicles that are due to be replaced are of a significantly higher mileage. That information has been provided to Council, and I am concerned that by delaying the purchasing of the fleet that is required, there will be undue costs based on the high mileage relating to the vehicles that are due to be replaced. And I think we should show the respect to the staff that have brought this forward. This has been the Council, I think, for the last 3 meetings. We've been laying it on the table, and it's time to make a decision. I've never seen a piece of fleet come to this table that hasn't been needed, been through the due diligence of the staff, and been recommended to be purchased to provide the service to our community that Council are there to do.
Would anyone else like to speak to the motion or against the motion? Okay, then we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? 7-2, if I can fill for a division. C2, recommendation to purchase 1 5-metre front end loader. I would like to move that Council carry forward the funding the funding to 2021 and not proceed with the purchase at this time. Do we have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Guthrie. Any opposition to the motion? Does anyone wish to speak to the motion? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? Did you have?
No, I just saw you guys.
All those against? So which way did you vote?
No, it's for, but I feel just speaking against it.
Right, I know. I asked everyone did they want to speak. Okay, on that note, that was 7-2, if I can call for a division.
6-3.
Sorry,
No,
6-3.
Yeah, I was for the motion. I was just saying that the speaker's against it.
Sorry, okay, so that is, 6-3, let's just do that again. All those in favour of the motion? All those against the motion? 6-3, if I can call for a division.
That was, you've got Councillor twice.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Hancock.
Okay. C3, recommendation to purchase one 28 tonne to 32 tonne excavator. I'd like to move that Council carry forward the funding to 2021 and not proceed with the purchase at this time. Do we have a seconder for this motion? Councillor Edwards. Any opposition to the motion? Does anyone wish to speak to the motion?
Not to.
Beg
I
pardon?
don't want to speak to your motion, but against,
I'll speak for or against the motion.
against the motion.
Yeah, please go ahead.
I believe that our officers have brought this recommendation to council because there is a need as part of the plant. There is a risk to council if we don't purchase this piece of equipment, and the officer this morning did inform us that it does take quite a time to actually purchase this and receive the equipment, and so therefore we are risking the excavator that they're using now that may break down and the costs that are associated with that. I also want to acknowledge that this money is already budgeted for in this financial year. It's already there. It's not new amounts of money that we're pulling from a budget. This is already in the budget.
Would anyone else wish to speak? I'll just speak to the motion. Certainly understand what Councillor Hancock says, but in this situation, shifting it a matter of a few months, Council has been on a program of renewing its fleet, and this hasn't just happened overnight. This has been a process that's been happening for years. To me, that this is part of the journey that we're on, which I support. But I believe in this year of COVID-19, strategically, it is prudent to push this purchases to next year, and the money will transfer still to the plant department, but allow council more flexibility. Okay, anybody else wish to speak? On that note, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? Lost 4-5. Was it 4? Let's just do that vote again. All those in favour? All those against? Yeah, 4-5. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, 4-5.
I would just think it.
Okay, can I call for a division? Does anyone wish to move a motion?
Mr Mayor, I'll move that Council 1 select Hitachi Construction Machinery Australia Proprietary Limited as the recommended supplier of one Hitachi ZX290LC-5 excavator at a cost of $390,500 including GST, excluding registration and CDP insurance. 2, authorise the Chief Executive Officer or delegate to enter into final negotiations with the Hitachi Construction Machinery Australia Proprietary Limited and raise purchase orders if the final terms are acceptable. 3, assign expenditure to ledger 6551.6075.2005, plant capital works, heavy plant purchase and capital purchases.
Okay, we have a second, Councillor O'Neill. Any opposition to the motion? Does the mayor wish to speak to the motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to think, I think we should get the excavator because I believe the potential machine that may fail and create or cost the biggest expense to council.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak against the motion? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? All those against?
Can we just vote on?
No, this is, the first motion was lost, so now we're testing another motion. So were you against?
Oh, no, I was, against the second one.
Yeah, okay. So that is 6-3 if I can call for a division.
No, can we do that again?
It's the same vote.
Righto. Okay, so we'll go to the vote again. All those for the motion? All those against the motion? So that is 5-4. Okay, if I can call for a division. Okay, moving on to C4. C4, project allocation to Works for Queensland, WQ4, additional COVID-19 payment and Roads to Recovery supplementary payment for local government area in drought. I would like to nominate the projects eligible for funding as presented, with the exception of Nyers and Burton's floodgates, funding to be reallocated to a floodway treatment at the Bungle Creek crossing in Nyers Lane under the A, Works for Queensland COVID-19 payment, and B, Roads to Recovery supplementary payment for local government area in drought 2020 to 2021. Authorise the Chief Executive Officer or delegate to sign this submission form and any further agreement as required.
Just add the word council, Mr Mayor, council nominate.
Yeah, council nominate, yep, happy with that. Just right up the front there, number 1, Kel.
It's already there.
Yes.
Oh, it's there. Oh, yeah, up the top. Yep. Is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor Hancock. Any opposition to the motion? Does anyone wish to speak to the motion? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Page number, please.
51.
Thank you. 51, C5, Big Rig Community Flyer, Project Overview Update. Councillor Mcmullen.
Mr Mayor, I'll move that this lay on the table until the next ordinary meeting. We're not having anything in between.
Would you like to say at an upcoming meeting?
At an upcoming meeting, I guess, yeah, lay on the
That way,
table
just in case
to an
there's
upcoming meeting.
special, we can include
I'll second that motion.
You don't have a seconder for a procedural motion.
Oh, that's right. Laying on the table. Let's go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. C6. Councillor Ladbrokes. We just note that Councillor Ladbrokes has just left the room. C6, addition to road register extension of Humphreys Road length, request to rename Humphreys Road. Do we have a mover? Councillor Burkett.
I move that council lay the matter on the, I'll read up. Lay the matter on the table for future meeting of council until further information on the matter is received. Number 2, note that the request of the road name change of Humphreys Road and that the request be considered as per council's road naming policy with a separate and subsequent report to be tabled at a future meeting of council.
We have a second, Councillor Mcmullen. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to this? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-8-0. C7, Ambi Water Quality Update. I would like to move that council note the contents of this report, consider installation of a new bore in Ambi as part of the upcoming budget deliberations. Do we have a seconder? Councillor O'Neill was first. Do we have any opposition to the motion? Does anyone wish to speak to the motion? I would just like to speak and say I think it's one of the most pressing water issues in our communities because of the quality of the water, and would certainly like to see if we can improve the water quality. Okay, well, on that note, if no one else wishes to speak, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. C8, Trade Waste Application Fee Waiver. Do we have a mover? Councillor Guthrie.
I would like to move that the council engage the trustee for Portbury Family Trust, trading as Portbury's Plumbing Service Proprietary Limited. Sorry?
C8, page 77. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
C8.
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 I would like to recommend that the council waive the trade waste application fee for the remainder of this financial year, and also to consider in its operating budget deliberations for the 2020-2021 financial year waiving the trade waste application fees.
So just for clarity, you're not recommending that, you're moving that, aren't you, Councillor Guthrie?
I'm recommending, sorry?
You're moving the council?
I'm moving
Yeah.
that the council waive, etc.
Yeah, it's just a bit more definite than recommend.
And are you happy if we just mark that 1 and 2?
Sure.
That council waive and that
Number
council
2.
consider in its operating budget deliberation.
Okay, do we have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Ladbrook. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? So everyone was in favour, 9-0. Okay, C9, contract plumber for in June 2021. Do we have a mover?
I started to move it today.
You have to move again?
This is your time.
This is my time. Okay, I move that the council engage the trustee for the Portbury Family Trust, trading as Portbury's Plumbing Service Proprietary Limited, to complete the in-June plumbing maintenance works as required for the financial year 2020-2021. Number 2, that this engagement be to the 31st of July 2021. Number 3, that the engagement be made in accordance with section 235A of the Local Government Regulation 2012, that the local government resolves it is satisfied that there is only one supplier who is reasonably available. Number 4, the council authorise the Chief Executive Officer or delegate to execute the deed of agreement. Number 5, expenditure to be assigned to the in-June zone water and sewerage maintenance work orders.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Edwards. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. C10. Upgrade of concrete footpath and installation of concrete verge, Bowen Street Road Reserve. Councillor Mcmullen.
Yeah, Mr Mayor, I move that Council 1 approve the replacement and full width upgrade of a section of footpath on Bowen Street outside Cookers BP Central Service Station to ensure that construction standard of footpath takes into consideration the fact that this particular section may be traversed by heavy vehicles, and 3, authorise the replacement and upgrade works totalling $11,594 and GST inclusive to be funded from the unallocated upgrade of footpath contribution fund.
Okay, we have a seconder, Councillor Edwards. Any opposition to the motion? Does anyone wish to speak to the motion? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. C11, request for removal of concrete floodway, Gunnerwin West Road. I'd like to move that Council authorise the Mayor to liaise with the landowner in relation to available councillors meeting with the applicant on site to discuss a proposed way forward. Do I need to say the Mayor and councillors, or all councillors, I suppose? Available. Yeah, so it should work. Is there anyone to second that motion? Councillor Mcmullen. Any opposition to the motion? Does the Mayor wish to speak to the motion? Does anyone wish to speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. That next page.
121.
21.
121, thank you. C12, execution of regional recycling transport assistance package. Do we have a mover? Councillor Mcmullen.
Mr Mayor, I move that Council endorse the project and authorise the Chief Executive Officer or Delegate to execute the grant deed and any associated documents for this project.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Burkett. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak?
No thanks.
No one else wishes to speak. We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. 127, thank you. Page 127, C13, delegation of authority to sign grant agreement, communities combating pests and weeds during drought round 2. Do we have a mover? Councillor O'Neill.
I'll move that Council endorse the project and authorise the CEO or delegate to execute the grant agreement and all associated documents between Council and the Federal Department of Agriculture, Water and the Environment for the Communities Combating Pests and Weeds During Drought Round 2 project.
We have a seconder. Councillor Hancock. Any opposition to the motion? Does anyone wish to speak at all?
No.
We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Have the next page, please. 164. 164, thank you. C14, applications for community grants, round 2, 2019-20. No one needs to be out of room for this one? No, so we've done that. Do we have a mover? Councillor Hancock.
I'll move, Mr Mayor, that Council endorse the recommendations of the assessment panel and approve the following community grant applications for payment. Noongar Community Association, small grant for $1,500. Corona Lodge number 318, small grant for $3,000. Yulbar Bowls Club, small grant for $1,825. All Saints Debutante Ball Committee, small grant for $3,000. Roma Life Christian Church, small grant for $2,807. Visit Roma Inc., small grant for $467. In-June Rodeo Session, small grant for $2,400. Roma Bush Gardens Community Grant, $8,254. Rome Historical Precinct Community Grant, $3,979. Surat Pony Club Community Grant, $4,740. Roma Campdraft Association Community Grant for $10,000. Wallumbilla P&C Association Community Grant for $3,042. Roma Touch Association Community Grant for $5,000. That's an overall total of $50,014. And number 2, fund the overspend of $245 from work order 14856.2539.2001, Yulbar Local Development Materials and Services.
We have a seconder, Councillor Ladbrook. Any opposition to the motion? Does anyone wish to speak to the motion? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. C15, fee waiver request, Anglicare. We have a mover. Councillor Edwards.
I move that Council approve the request from Anglicare for a fee waiver for the use of the meeting room in Mitchell as per Council's in-kind policy for a not-for-profit organisation. Number 2, approve the limited use of a photocopier free of charge. 3, provide for this amount of expenditure in the in-kind assistance major budget GL 02887.2248.2001 for the 2020 and 21 financial year.
We have a seconder, Councillor Burkett. Any opposition to the motion? Does anyone need to speak to the motion? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. C16, claim for damages by Mount West Road. I would like to move that Council reimburse the claimant $876, being the cost of replacing 2 tyres on the following conditions. Number 1, Council and the claimant acknowledge that Council is not legally liable for the incident. Number 2, the claimant agrees to accept the amount of $876 from Council as a full and final settlement of all claims arising from the alleged incident in April 2020. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Ladbrook. Any opposition to the motion? Does the mover or anyone wish to speak to the motion? Okay, on that note, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. C17. C17, Roma Girl Guide surrender of lease. I'd like to move that number 1, that Council receive and note the advice from the Girl Guides Queensland that they are surrendering the long-standing arrangement to occupy part of Lot 5 on SP 10322. 1033335 and 2 be provided with a report on the relationship arrangements between Girl Guides and Council going forward, and 3 consider a future Council meeting a condition of assessment on the building with the view to identifying possible future uses if Girl Guides are not, if Girl Guides have no further interest.
Just on the screen, so that's at a, consider a future council meeting, a condition assessment.
Yeah, we probably don't need number 3, we can probably take it.
Through you, Mr Mayor, in light of the information we received before, I would suggest that just drop number 3 off. And
yeah, I agree.
When the report comes back, we'll have that other, well, I'm assuming we'll have that other information.
Yeah, I'm happy to remove number 3, so it'll just be to point 2. Does everyone understand the motion?
I'll second that if
Okay, then we've got a second to Councillor Mcmullen. Any opposition to this? Does anyone wish to speak to it? I'd just like to say Roma Girl Guides are a very important part of the Roma community for such a long time that I'd like to see a way that we can in the future, if new people come on the scene, that we do have options for them to offer this to the people of Roma and surrounds. Okay, on that note, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Item C18, Public Safety Business Agency, Lot 14 on W4097. I would like to move that council liaise with Wallumbilla Town Improvement before making a decision on this report, to see if there is any interest in the offer. Okay, do we have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Guthrie. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. C19, Council Asset 181 Alice Street, Mitchell. Do we have a mover? Councillor Mcmullen.
Mr Mayor, I'll move that council offer for sale by tender property located at 181 Alice Street, Mitchell, and described as Lot 8 on M15144.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Taylor. Any opposition to the motion? Does anyone wish to speak to the motion? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. C20, application for conversion of tenure lot 132A on MNG 53. Councillor Burkett.
I move that the Council advise the Department of Natural Resources, Mine and Energy it offers no objection to the conversion of GHPL 10/3330 being lot 1328 on MNG 53 to freehold tenure.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Ladbrook. Any opposition to the motion? Does anyone wish to speak to the motion or against?
No.
We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Okay, C21, Baringa Heritage Group Incorporated, renewal of commercial tenancy agreement. Just noting that Councillor Burkett has left the room. Do we have a mover? Councillor Edwards.
I move that council renew the commercial tenancy agreement with the Baringa Heritage Group Incorporated for a further 5-year term expiring 31st of August 2025.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Guthrie. Any opposition to the motion? Does anyone wish to speak to this motion? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. Okay, page 250, C22, Planning Consultancy Services. Do we have a mover? Councillor O'Neill.
I'll move that Council authorise the CEO to enter into a new agreement with Shire Council to provide town planning services in accordance with the terms defined in the agreement presented.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Ladbrook. Any opposition to the motion? Does the member wish to speak to the
No,
motion?
thank you.
We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. C23, Payment of Queensland Local Government Mutual managed by Jardine Lloyd Thompson Pty Annual Liability Insurance Payment. Councillor O'Neill.
I'll move that Council 1 authorise payment to Queensland Local Government Mutual LGM liability totalling $295,573.72, including GST, being payment for LGM liability membership contribution 2020/21, $327,490.66 less annual surplus distribution of $31,916.93. 2, authorise the CEO to raise a purchase order with expenditures assigned to the 2020-21 budget allocation for liability insurance. And thirdly, authorise the CEO to complete future payments invoiced by Queensland Local Government Mutual in accordance with budget approvals.
Yeah, do we have a seconder?
I'm just checking that here. Oh, I'm just checking the numbers because it doesn't add up. Sorry. It's one second.
You're saying that again, Cameron? Mr. Cameron.
When will this actually be paid?
Councillor O'Neill, do you mind if we lay that on the table till a little bit further in the meeting? Just to,
Yeah.
okay, so,
Just
Oh,
one
he's-
moment. Not too sure on the figures, which figures are out.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find the figures.
To me, if it's out by a cent.
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say 3 and 2.
I'm just trying to average.
And the year of the insurance you pay for the future year.
Should be $295,573.73.
Correct. It's actually wrong in the proposal, it doesn't add up. So I say 73 cents.
The invoice on page 277 says that, 215,573.73.
Yeah, 73, page 277.
Statement on it.
I move we lay it on the table.
okay, all those in favour? 9-0.
Right through.
C24, Community Engagement Software. We have a mover. Councillor Hancock.
I'll move that Council 1 enter into a licence and support agreement with Bang the Table for a period of 12 months for the Bang the Table engagement, HQ platform and engagement IQ support. 2, resolves that the engagement is in accordance with section 235B of the Local Government Regulation 2012, that because of the specialised nature of the services that are sought, it would be impractical for the local government to invite quotes. 3, authorise the Chief Executive Officer to sign the agreement. 4, use existing elected members of community engagement budget with funds transferred from employee costs available due to a vacant position in 2019-20 to material and services as part of the quarterly review, work order 21903 community engagement software.
We have a seconder for that? Well, Councillor Guthrie, I think might have been first. Any opposition to the motion? Does the member wish to speak to the motion or anyone wish to speak? Righto, we're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. C25, Map Info Pro and Spectrum Spatial Analyst GST Software License and Service Agreement. Do we have a mover? Councillor Mcmullen.
Mr Mayor, I'll move that Council 1 enter into a licence and service agreement with Precisely Proprietary Limited for a further 3 years to continue with the Map Info and Spectrum Spatial Analyst GIC platform. 2, the engagement be made in accordance with S235A of the Local Government Regulation 2012, that the local government resolves it is satisfied that there is only one supplier who is reasonably available, and 3, authorise the Chief Executive Officer to sign the agreement.
We have a seconder, Councillor Guthrie. Okay, any opposition to this motion? Does anyone wish to speak to the motion? If not, we're going to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. C26, Roma Sale Prime Sales. Do we have a mover? Councillor Mcmullen.
Mr Mayor, I'll move that Council 1 temporarily nominate Tuesday as a regular sale day for prime cattle incorporated in the weekly store sale until 30th of September 2020. This will give certainty to producers that prime sale cattle are auctioned weekly at Aroma. 2, undertake a review in September 2020 in consultation with the Roma Livestock Association, bringing a report back to Council. 3, approve the continued temporary use of the receival-delivery yards, old selling pens, adjacent to the loading ramps, only where cattle numbers exceed 6,000 head or at the manager sale yard's discretion, depending on the prime sale numbers of that sale, until 30th of September 2020. The auctioneer walkways are scheduled to be dismantled as the pens are now ready for receival auctioneer walkways are scheduled to be dismantled as the pens are now receival and delivery yards. Okay.
Okay, so does that mean that we're not dismantling anything, are we?
No.
Okay, do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Ladbroke. Any opposition to the motion? Does anyone wish to speak to the motion? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. C27, Council Publication Extension of Bottle Tree Bulletin Contract. No one needs to be out of the room for this one. Okay, Councillor Burkett.
Yeah, Council extend the Council extend the Bottle Tree Bulletin contract until the 30th of September 2020, including the October 2020 edition, with current service provider Bring Action Group. Number 2, assign expenditure to GL 2018.2210.2002.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor Edwards. Any opposition to the motion? Does anyone wish to speak to the motion? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. C28, Council News, June edition review. Thank you. Councillor Hancock has just left the room. Council News, June edition review. Do we have a mover? Councillor O'Neill.
I'll move the Council note and approve the Council News June 2020 edition for print subject to final approval.
We have a seconder, Councillor Guthrie. That final proofing, how would that happen, Councillor O'Neill? What would you propose there? Just, you mean to councillors to see it, or do you mean just staff to see it?
Staff, we've seen it.
Right. Okay, thank you. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. can do that. That's no problem. Councillor Handel, is she coming in?
Yes,
Right. CD 29, budget review. Do we have a mover? Councillor Edwards.
Move that Council adopt the 2019-20 third quarter budget review as shown in the report's attachments. Revenue policy 2019-20, revenue statement 2019-20, revised budget financial statements 2019-20 following 2 years, revised budget financial statements 2019-20 following 9 years, revised financial sustainability ratios 2019-20, total value of change in rates and charges, and that the documents be placed on the council website. Where is it? Sorry. That's the council. Furthermore, incorporate the result of the council's decision for item C24 of this meeting.
Okay. We have a seconder. Councillor Taylor. Any opposition to the motion? Does anyone wish to speak to the motion? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Right, okay, we can go back to that insurance. Do you have a page number on that, please?
264.
264, thank you. C23, payment on Queensland Local Government Mutual managed by Jardine Lloyd Thompson Pty Lts. Annual liability insurance payment. Councillor O'Neill moved that motion.
Are the figures correct now, Sharon? As read, the 73 cents?
Correct.
Well, as moved.
Should we read it again, or?
In the statement it said 73 cents.
Yeah, would you mind reading it again, Councillor O'Neill? Please.
As I moved before, that Council 1 authorise payment to Queensland Local Government Mutual LGM liability totalling $295,573.73, including GST, being payment for LGM liability membership contribution 2020-21, that of $327,490.66, less annual surplus distribution of $31,916.93. 2, authorise the CEO to raise a purchase order with expenditure assigned to the 2020-21 budget allocation for liability insurance. And thirdly, authorise the CEO to complete future payments invoiced by Queensland Local Government Mutual in accordance with budget approval.
We have a seconder for that motion. Councillor Hancock, any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak?
In the subject heading there, is that Jardine Lloyd Thompson Proprietary Limited? Is that for LTS you've got? Should that be?
Is there such a thing as LTD?
LTD, I think.
Yeah, I did say yes. So
LTD,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So do we have a seconder for that motion? Yeah, that's right, you did. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Okay, what is next?
you could finish off the confidential items.
Confidential? Sure. Okay, LC1 Microsoft Enterprise Agreement licensing resigning. Do we have a mover?
Stage for it, okay. I'll go.
Councillor Burkett.
I move that the Council number 1, in perspective of Section 2 through 34 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, proceed with the Microsoft Enterprise Agreement under a local government arrangement through local buy contract BUS 274. 2, delegates of the Chief Executive Officer, delegates to the Chief Executive Officer the authority to sign the Microsoft Enterprise Agreement before the 30th of June 2020, and point 3, the annual payments for the agreement will be due as follows: July 2020, July 2021 and July 2022.
With your permission, Councillor Burke, I'll just change that to Council Delegate. And point 2, please, Cal.
Okay, we had a mover, do we have a second?
Did you want to put actual council in front of that, or just?
Yeah, that's what, that, it doesn't read well either.
It says that council at the top.
Yeah, see, it's following on from
Council 1.
274.
So just have the first one as that, and then in point 1, Council Delegate, and then 1.
Should we have to get rid of that comma after 74? Will that make any difference?
Okay, we're happy with that. So we have a mover.
Sorry, Mayor, we don't need delegate to the CEO or delegate.
Let's delegate to the Chief Executive Officer. Yes.
Council delegate to the Chief Executive Officer.
So pursuant to section 2.3, proceed with Microsoft Enterprise Agreement under a local government arrangement. It's just that A needs to, the point A needs to go. Arrangement.
And just in point 2.
By contract BUS 274 full stop.
Get rid of the 2, you reckon?
Council delegate to the CEO or delegate.
No, that's fine, just delegate to me.
To you, right?
Yeah, that's fine. The authority to sign the before 30 June 2020 full stop. Thanks, Cal.
I'll make
Okay,
that.
Councillor Baker.
Yeah, I'll make that.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor Mcmullen. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. LC2, financial year 2021 fees and charges airport. I would like to move that Council adopt the fees and charges from 2019-2020 for Maranoa Regional Council. This is the updated one, is it? Yeah, it is. I'll start again. Adopt the fees and charges from 2019-2020 for the Maranoa Regional Council's airport into 2020 to 2021. Noting no increase in fees and charges except for a potential review that may result from point 5 of this resolution. Remove the commuter charter arrival departure via terminal unscreened fee provided in the 2019-2020 fees and charges from the 2020-2021 schedule. Introduce a provision to enable business development in the airside of the Aroma airport through an airside infrastructure access commercial purpose fee priced on application, executed via licence agreement. Authorise the CEO or delegate to enter into agreements for airside infrastructure access if the terms are acceptable. And number 5, be provided with a further report around the implications and methodology for waiving fees for light aircraft less than 1,500 kilos, 1,500 kilos.
Can I just make one suggestion? I think that what might make it read a little better, just from point 1, Kel, adopt the fees and charges from that. Can you pick up the except for a potential review that may result from point 5 of this resolution, pop that up after the financial year.
Sorry, adopt the fees and charges. This
From
bit here.
2019-20 for the Maranoa Regional Council's airports for, so cut that and put that up after. So adopt the fees and charges. No, sorry, Cal, undo that, please. Yep, so adopt the fees and charges from 2019-20. No, sorry, Cal, undo. Okay, so just pick up except for a potential review that may result from 0.5 of, so cut, and put that after the end of 0.1 at the moment, and noting no increase in fees and charges. Is that a bit tiny, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, I'm happy with that. Are we happy with that, Council? Righto, do we have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Guthrie, any opposition to the motion? Does anyone wish to speak to it? We're going to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. And I'd just also like to mention that, and I didn't mention when he left, but Councillor Edwards did leave before we started that motion. Waiting for Councillor Edwards.
Can I just ask a question?
Sure.
You know, when we do a multiple change there, you don't have to read that whole thing out, even though it's a change?
I could if you wanted. That's
No,
what
I
I
was
was
just
asking.
curious. You know, like the people listening in, like we change a motion, they can't see the.
Yeah,
That's a really good point, Councillor Burkett.
Well, before we start on the next one, I'll read that again.
They can't, but just in future.
Oh, yeah, do you mind just, we might just do that because we are on videotape. It will only take a second. So we can start at the number 1, Kelly, please.
Sorry, Kel.
Oh, whenever you're ready. So for clarity, I'll just read again, we just voted on it, but I'm just happy to make a good point that people watching would not see that. We just swapped it around, it was the same meaning, but just tidier. Number 1, adopt the fees and charges for the 2019-2020 year for the Maranoa Regional Council's airports into 2020-2021, except for a potential review that may result from 0.5 of this resolution and noting no increase in fees and charges. 2, remove the commuter, charter, arrival, departure via terminal unscreened fees provided in the 2019-2020 fees and charges from the 2020-2021 schedule. Number 3, introduce a provision to enable business development in the airside of the Aroma airport through airside infrastructure access commercial purpose fee, priced on application, executed via licence agreement. Number 4, authorise CEO or delegate to enter into an agreement for airside infrastructure access if the terms are acceptable. Number 5, be provided with a future report around the implications of methodology for waiving for light aircraft less than 1,500 kilos. And we went to the vote on that, and
For waiving fees.
for waiving fees for light aircraft less than 1,500 kilos.
And we provide with a further report.
Yeah, we can put that in. And be provided.
No, sorry.
No, it's in there.
It's just.
Oh, I didn't read it. Did I?
Yeah,
Just said future.
Oh, yeah, be provided with a further report around the implications and methodology for waiving fees for light aircraft less than 1,500 kilos. Okay, and I'm happy with that, and the seconder is happy with that. And we might as well just go back to the vote again, all those in favour?
No, sorry.
We've done it?
There's already been a vote on the matter.
Righto, okay. Anyway, we've read it again, so if everyone's happy with that. Okay. Okay, page 16, LC3, addition to the road register, unformed road off Womble Bank Gap Road. I'd like to move that a report be prepared for an upcoming council meeting. We have a seconder, Councillor Guthrie. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to?
Get that, Keller?
If no one wishes to speak, except for the advice,
And it doesn't get a vote.
we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0.
Just shout.
Siri interjects.
Love to see you.
So what have you got next, Bill?
10.2.
What page is that, please? Item 10.2, expense reimbursement policies, councillors. I would like to move that council adopt the draft expense reimbursement policy for the 2020-24 term, with the change in regards to page 11, to remove option 1. Go to page 11, or 110 I should say. 110 and 111. Removing option 1.
What was that, sorry, Mr Mayor?
So page 110 and 111, I'm moving to adopt the policy, but removing option 1 for the cars. And that would, for clarity, leave the first part for ad hoc use for council business, and also option 2 for private use of a vehicle. And if you go to page 111, I'm moving to make the cents per kilometre at 88 cents per kilometre as per the logbook. So basically, if you fill a logbook out, if you're a councillor on council business, it would be reimbursed at 88 cents, which has been the historical amount to be reimbursed. And okay. Yeah.
Sorry, so you're taking that out?
Yeah, so that would leave in the motion, it would be option 2. So I'll just read it for clarity. Mayors and councillors will have access to pool vehicles for ad hoc use, subject to availability and prior booking, e.g. travel within or outside the region for business use, transporting dignitaries, for hosting dignitaries or visitors to the region. Booking should occur occur within 48 hours notice to provide time for a vehicle cleaning and fueling. So that would be the option, one option, and the second option would be option 2 is obviously councillors can use their own private vehicle, and for council business would be reimbursed at 88 cents per kilometre, providing a logbook maintained and copies provided as part of the reimbursement request. Or B, that council seeks no reimbursement through the policy, in which case councillors may be entitled to claim associated costs through the taxation system.
So does that mean that council vehicle, council business and limited private usage is not in?
Correct, yes. So that would, as you see there on page 111, it would be that councillors would be able to access a pool car or their private car and be reimbursed for their council business.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I didn't quite catch what Councillor Taylor said.
Number B, where it says council vehicle for council business and limited private use.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's in option 1, that is.
Yeah, so what I'm putting forward a motion is to remove option 1. So if you take that out, which is A and B, then you go to option 2 and you have the pool cars as up the top of page 110.
So, Mr Mayor, is this just for clarity, is it a dedicated pool vehicle for councillors, or do the councillors need to book a staff vehicle?
I believe we need to have something that, council meetings and so forth is a priority. And if we are disposing of some cars, I don't know how that works, but there could be arrangements to make sure that there is a pool vehicle there.
So is that at each, I'm just thinking Councillor Burkett here as well, so is there one vehicle at the Aroma office and one at Surat, sorry, Councillor Hancock as well, one at
And in June?
And one at in June.
Well, it really depends. We'd probably have
One
to,
at Mitchell, sorry.
yeah, we probably have to ascertain whether people are using their private car, but to give you an idea, I have a visiting dignitary, so I've sort of booked one for that. So I'm happy whether it is a pool car made available if someone is going to use it, but people may choose to use their own private cars.
I'm just thinking it's a really important budget decision that we need clarity about where the pool cars, and if they are to have priority, we probably do need to look at increasing our fleet.
Repurposing it maybe, because we might have cars there that we could use from the last term.
Well, through you, Mr Mayor, I would suggest that a designated car be designated for the areas. We would have at least 5 council cars if we need them anyway, wouldn't we?
So we'd have one extra at Mitchell, Surat and in June, and one at Roma.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I think as you said, Mr Mayor, you should ascertain who's going to use it, who's going to use their own vehicle and who's not.
I just thought we were going to have a bit more of a discussion on what everybody wanted. Like, it's not up, like we can't have no discussion on it.
Well, we could lay it on the table if you wanted to lay it on the table again.
I don't really want to lay it on the table, it needs to be sorted, but I don't know, I just felt that, everyone should say what they want and then we decide whether that's what's going to happen.
Can I suggest also that we go around and actually get an expression of interest or an expression of preference? Might be a good way to establish an understanding about how much demand there is for.
Sorry, is it right if we hold it over and discuss it at our briefing day? We can't do that.
Yes, and it's been tabled, so it needs to be considered in open.
Because it's an open agenda, so
Well, while we've got a motion up, do we have any idea how many people would like to use the pool car if this goes ahead? We'll test the motion, but
I think we're headed in a fairly dangerous direction if councillors are going to seek what the individual circumstances are of individual councillors in determining which way they're going to vote. I don't know if that is appropriate in making a policy decision.
righto. So, well, maybe we don't do that. Should we not test the motion, perhaps?
Can I just say, this is all like new to us, I suppose, but when we got given the, originally got given the options, I sort of went through then what I was going to tick on. I wasn't sure if it, because one thing doesn't suit everyone.
No.
And I don't begrudge anyone what their decision is. I've got my mind made up. It's going to be different to everyone else's. Yeah, I was under the assumption that's what we'd do, and yeah, so.
I don't know why we asked the question on the thing if we're not going to take any notice of what people individually want. And like, I just feel like if they need, like, I believe the ones out of town deserve a car. That's my opinion. I don't want a car. But I believe if they're going to travel from Surat in June, I know Julie probably wants to use her car, but you know what I mean? Like, where's the discussion and you know, like, I don't know. I just thought we would have a discussion and we would see what people wanted. You asked us on a piece of paper what we wanted, but you're not gonna talk about that?
No, well, I think this is part of the policy, and if it gets like I think what you're referring to is you fill that out once the policy's been put into place. Generally, that's how people have.
We all filled it out before then.
The only issue, Mr Mayor, is if some options are removed, they won't actually be able to be chosen. So the form will get updated if that option is
Yeah, correct. Would, yeah.
So what?
So at some stage we've got to test different motions and see which one gets up. Which.
That'd be good.
Mr Mayor, well, I'll second it then.
Righto. Does anyone want to speak against this motion? Yeah, Councillor O'Neill, please go ahead.
Well, are you going to speak to it?
I can.
Well, with all due respect, that's the normal practice.
Right.
The mover speaks and then you open it up to people to speak for or against thereafter.
Okay, sure. So I'm happy to speak for the motion. This gives flexibility that anybody on council business can claim and be fully reimbursed. It does, and as we've seen in the report, there's many councils here that don't allow any private use of their vehicles, and I believe this is in line with community expectations. I don't believe anyone is out of pocket with this option or a couple of options, and I'm totally flexible if pool cars are not enough, that we look at our fleet and repurpose, but this gives an opportunity that council cars are only used for council business. Okay, Councillor O'Neill.
Or is there any, I mean, I indicated, but there might be others.
Okay, does anyone else wish? I thought you said that. Does anyone else wish to speak against the motion? Okay, Councillor. Well, okay, Councillor Taylor first.
Well, I just honestly believe that, well, like I said before, I think that they should be given an option. They travel for an hour and a half, or whatever it is, and I just don't think it's that big of an issue if they want to have a car. I just, there's plenty of other things to worry about without worrying. I don't think it's a big issue to the public, to be honest with you. And looking around, there's probably only 3 or 4 that want the cars anyway. So I just don't think it's an issue. I think they should be given a choice.
Okay, thank you. Would anyone else wish to speak for the motion? Councillor Ladbrokes.
Yeah, I just feel that the people don't want us using cars. As simple as that. You know, the feedback that I've had from the community.
Okay, thank you.
Simple as that.
Would Councillor Hancock, do you wish to speak against the motion?
I just want to speak, Mr Mayor. I too think that we're setting a policy and we're taking out options which gives individual councillors a choice depending on their circumstances. And I think we've got to be very careful as a council that we're not setting a precedent that you have to be a rich business owner or a rich property owner to be able to be a councillor. What about the one-car families that might be out there, people thinking that they might want to be a councillor and would be an amazing councillor, but they actually don't think they could be a councillor because they actually can't afford to take their wife or husband's car and park it out in front of a council office, tie that vehicle up for the full day while they're out in a council using that pool car system. I think we're setting a precedent where people won't think that they can be put their hand up to be a councillor. I also think that there is, we're going to limit our access to a vehicle and therefore limit our access to be able to do our job successfully if we have to book a pool car on a weekend to go and do a job and we won't have access to that pool car. How do we book it? How do we get the keys? How do we account for it? We won't have access to a pool car on a weekend unless we know prior. And we do know that sometimes you do get that phone call from a community person saying, can you come out and check out a road? Or I have an issue. Would you be available? So I think we're going to be limiting what we can do and what we get paid to do as councillors. I also think that there is an issue of safety where you're coming back, you've got night meetings, you're travelling back at night and you're going to a depot that is sometimes in darkness and you're transferring over to cars. I just think that individual circumstances for councillors, that they should have a choice. I also acknowledge that there might be community perceptions and that that people may not. I disagree, Councillor Ladbrokes, that everybody says we shouldn't have cars. I actually have had people say that they believe that councillors do need the tool of the trade to do their council business, which includes a vehicle to do that business. But I also think that they need to know the facts, and that's actually the costings that's in this document. Then the costing that's in this document is that if a council officer does, let's average it out. We've got figures here from 5,000 Ks a year to 30,000 Ks. Let's pick 15,000 as the middle of the road. The cost to council to supply a council vehicle to a councillor is $11,055. But if we were to pay for councillors to use their own private vehicles, it's going to cost the ratepayer $13,200. That's actually $2,145 more than what it costs to have the car. And at the top end of the scale, when we're talking 30,000 kilometres, and we've had those figures put to us that previous councillors who live further out in the region actually do 30,000 Ks a year, that the cost for a council-owned car is $13,439. But if the ratepayers are paying for councillors to use their own private car, that's $26,400. That's $12,961 extra that the ratepayer is paying for councillors to use their private vehicles. So I think it is really important that we talk about the facts, because I also acknowledge that this has become a highly contested thing throughout the campaign, and I'm concerned that councillors will actually be made feel that they have to make a certain decision because of the consequences of how the community might have pushback. Well, I'm telling you that the facts are the figures, and it's $12,961 that the ratepayer is paying. So we may go and buy brand new vehicles, and the ratepayer can pay that off. So I think we've got to be very careful what precedent we're setting.
Councillor
Mr
Mcmullen.
Mayor, I've seen the reports. I don't believe those figures are good comparison figures, because the council cars show all mileage done in the council cars, not just for council business. You can, and I would like to see the council figures have been compared with a former councillor who lived out in the bush and used the car, their own car, and charged for council use only. I would like to have seen the mileage compared with that one and what the council cars were actually doing.
Can I answer that?
Yeah, through you, Mr Mayor. These figures were based on actual costs. So under that table for the council-owned vehicles, the depreciation is based on the purchase cost of a Prado, less the estimated residual resale value. That's today's cost for a Prado. The fuel and oil is based on 9 litres per 100 kilometres. It's not based on the previous vehicles. The registration has just been based on historical actuals plus an allowance for increase, and the servicing and maintenance is an average of historical costs for Prados. So it doesn't incorporate the private use or anything of a previous vehicle, it's just on the operating costs.
Okay, now,
Having said that, if it's high use kilometres, it's cheaper to have the council. Correct.
I've been keeping, Councillor Mayor, I've been keeping a logbook the last couple of weeks, and I've been getting around, seeing people. I'm probably lucky to do 200 kilometres, and I live 37 k's from town. I come in for the meeting on Wednesday, which goes in my diary.
It's not representative at the moment, Councillor Lavrov.
Yeah, I know, but I've just been keeping a track of what I do, and I don't know where those figures come from.
okay,
And I'm 40 k's out of town.
well, we just keep the debate going. Would anyone wish to speak against the motion? Councillor O'Neill.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Look, the reality is a role of a councillor or mayor requires us to be accessible to the community that elected us. And right now is not a true representation of the role. You know, we've had discussions around here and I shared with you that, you know, Laney's loving the fact that I'm at home more because there's a lot of jobs getting done. But it's not reflective of the previous term. You are meeting constituents on the weekend, you are attending community meetings in all the different parts of the region of a night. And so right now is not what it truly means to be a councillor. Yeah, we're coming to council meetings and going home from council meetings, but the role entails a lot more, and it should, because when this region was amalgamated in 2008, we went from something like 45 representatives spread across councils and mayors of the former shires to 9. Those former mayors, from the research that I've done, they had a vehicle. And not all of them may have, but most of them had a vehicle. And that allowed them to do the job that they needed to do. In 2008, it was amalgamated, there were 9 councillors, mayor and 8 councillors. And there was an allocation of vehicles. And it was all the former CEOs and mayors' vehicles are allocated across the 9 councils. And we've seen in the report, and we've discussed previously, that there's been trials done on what's most cost effective. I just think what's happened here is that the perception in the community has not been fact-checked and the right information got out over the last 4 years. There was a perception that all councillors suddenly got brand new vehicles. Sure, there was a fleet purchase, but it wasn't like councillors suddenly had the resource of a vehicle. They'd always had that over the entire time of the Maranoa Regional Council. The tools to be able to do this role is a phone, and we all know that we spend a fair bit of time on that. We need some kind of iPad or computer to be able to do the emails and, you know, what goes in terms of the information that is sent to us. but we also need the resource of being able to get out and meet with our residents that have put us here. And that won't be always at a convenient time to be able to book a pooled vehicle. And if we're talking about allocating one for Surat, well, we've got one councillor down there, one for Mitchell, we've got one councillor geographically out there, one for Injune, we've got one councillor geographically out there. You put one in Roma and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to access that, competing to be able to do the role that we need to do. I get, Councillor Ladbroke, that there is a question mark over the private use. That's why I introduced what other councils had been doing, and that is having a flat fee for limited private use, because in the previous term, I didn't feel comfortable leaving the council chamber, going and picking up a loaf of bread and going home. That's private use. So for me to feel comfortable, I went out and researched what other councils are doing. An option was what was put forward, and at the time it was supported 9 votes to 0, because it meant that people that had the use of a council vehicle, to make sure that it was fair and equitable, they paid a particular amount to be able to pick up the loaf of bread on the way home. Where in the previous terms, that wasn't the case. But for me, I didn't feel comfortable with that. I get that there's some reservations over that. Change the policy so that if people opt into having a council vehicle to do the job, if they use the vehicle for 1 kilometre of private use, they pay the 88 cents per kilometre. That's fair and equitable, because it's the same amount that a councillor will be receiving in the event that option 2, which is using your own private vehicle, is the one that's been supported. Now, I've got my own concerns around the own private vehicle. You've heard on the campaign trail the former councillor Chandler's example of what it cost for that vehicle. She did 120,000 kilometres in that 4 years. Let's make the assumption, and I don't know, 20,000, 30,000, but 20,000 of them were private use. She paid $3,500 a year. That would be 100,000 kilometres she did for council, right? In her own private vehicle, council, the rate base, you and I and everyone else that we represent would have contributed $88,000 to that individual councillor. Now, I'm not going to begrudge anyone if they tick the box for using their own private vehicle. I'm not. But I'm with Councillor Taylor. Have the options on the table to allow councillors to determine how best they do their job. I share some of the concerns that Councillor Hancock highlighted, that there will be a perception in the community that unless you can afford, and whatever your background is, I'm not going to comment on, whatever you can afford, it may prohibit you standing for public office. People may see that you need a Hilux dual cab ute to be able to be the mayor. Well, that's not right. I want, and anyone in our community should feel comfortable to stand for council. You know, you all heard me say on the campaign trail, in 2012 when I stood for council, I was 28 years of age. I was the youngest candidate elected to Maranoa Regional Council. I was the youngest candidate across the field then. Here we are 8 years later. I'm 37 this year and I'm still the youngest candidate. We are not going to attract a diverse bunch of people to stick their hands up to stand for council. Whether they get elected or not, that's up to the people. But attract a diverse bunch of people to stand for council if we create perceptions that you've got to be in a particular frame of life, have resources behind you to be able to do the job. And I just think if you lay the options out, if there's concerns around the private mileage, scrap private mileage, just have the vehicles for business use. Or include the option, you do a kilometre of private use in a council vehicle, you pay exactly what we will pay if you use your private vehicle. I think it's that simple, and we need to take the politics out of this. Everyone is here now, elected, with access to all the facts. That isn't the case when you're running for office. You don't get the facts until you're in the room where you've got them now, and the reality is it is somewhat cheaper to allocate vehicles to individuals and allow them to use it for business use than to pay for private mileage. But if you balance it out, that some want it, some don't, you'll get the best outcome, I think, for our community. So I implore you not to support the motion, that we adopt the policy as being drafted, as painfully as I imagine it has been for the staff, and give the individual councillors the option to be able to do the job that they've been elected to do.
Has anyone not had a chance to speak? Councillor Burkett?
I might have splinters in my backside a bit, but I can see pros and cons for both, and I never publicly said I was against council's own car, private use and all that, but I respect everyone's decision what they want to do. I was in the belief that we were doing options. Personally, I wouldn't take a council car, but that's just my situation, and I'll probably get persecuted because I'm getting a new private car, so I'm not going to win either way. But I totally respect everyone's different point in their life and what they're going to.
And that's just it. Everybody's different, so why can't we just bend? I mean, it's in there, it's allowed, it's there, so why change it? It just doesn't make any sense.
Okay, we just either got to limit to one for each to speak, or we just keep speaking.
I'm happy also to make a comment. I intend to drive a car that I actually have my own personal use. I have a car, I'm happy to use my car. I would query if we were going to look at accessing cars, and I've listened to everybody who are very, very passionately advocating on behalf of their points of view. My thought would have been that maybe we could have a vehicle bought that could be in a dual cab, D-Max or something like that, or Isuzu D-Max or something similar. Because my thought would be that, for example, somebody choosing to go with the option should be available and then changing their mind, you don't want to be left in the situation of having Prados or whatever parked up at the Cartwright Road complex. That way they could go back into, so I've listened to what you said, it could go back into the fleet that could be used for plumbers or other people working for the council. That would be the only thing I would like to say.
Like a multi-purpose car.
A multi-purpose car. Yeah. So it's not a councillor car, it's a car that would have numerous uses should it be needed.
Okay, well, I might sum up. The issue, I think, is what would the community want us to do? And I believe that's why I moved this motion, because it's definitely about equity, because being reimbursed for every kilometre you do for council business means you probably even could rent a car if you didn't have a car. But you know, I just believe that there's also council cars, and it'll be interesting to see, you know, if this gets up, who supports, how many people would need a council car. But I'll just bring your attention to, like, Merway Shire Council. We've had many different options here. The travel costs for councillors attending approved conferences, seminars, meetings will be met by council, except for those meeting held in Charleville. An annual allowance of $3,600 per annum will be paid to councillors who reside in either Augathella or Morven to compensate them for the distance they live from Charleville. Logbooks will be kept to equip the allowance with any shortfall returned to council. Vehicles will not be supplied to councillors except for approved travel to conferences and meetings, approved by the Chief Executive Officer. No private use is permitted. Fuel costs will be reimbursed if a council is using a council vehicle approved purposes upon production of receipts. So there's all different policies, from like policy like that with our neighbours to the west, right through to far more generous ones in other areas. What I'm saying is, being able to be reimbursed at 88 cents I believe, is a very generous policy, and having a council pool car available is a general policy. But sometimes we have to make a decision, and whether this motion gets up, we have to make a decision. So if there's no further ado, we will go to the vote. All those in favour of this motion? All those against? Carried 5-4 if I can call for a division. And do we have any further business, councillors?
Yeah, sorry, you go.
Well, I was just going to ask, Mr Mayor, do we maybe come back to council next time, but do we move a motion or about having a designated car in, well, definitely in the town of Surat? I'm not sure.
Can that be done in this
Or
forum?
do you want to do that now?
Or do we have to get a report about it?
I think there should be a resolution on the books, Mr Mayor, for us to gather that information from council.
Okay, so did you want to move that?
I'll move a motion that council approve
Seek a report.
seek a report to base, I suppose, or a car, designated car in town,
In the following towns.
well, I don't want to, can't say following all the towns because I don't know
But you could list the following towns, the ones that would.
if required.
If required.
How to word that.
Or should we just seek a report about pool cars and options?
I believe, Mr Mayor, that we need a car in Roma as well, parked at the council chambers, in the, I suppose, and then Surat would be the council office, and I mean, if...
I don't think you generally need one like that.
Well, I can't talk for the other councils, but if that would be two at least.
Well, why don't we just ask for the report? What have we got there? Council seek a report.
That's,
So are you
We got-
saying if there's a car in Surat, it's just for Joe to use?
yes, yes, that's correct, because there's only one council in Surat, obviously, that's correct.
And would that report also have options if people, they're on council business and they drive it home, so they don't have to drop it back in the night time or whatever?
Depending on the situation, I suppose.
But the only drama is that their car would be at the council office
Council
overnight.
workers
But
take
in-
their cars home,
No,
Only if there are-
Certain few.
if they're on call? Well, Joe will be on call 24/7.
Well,
Well, our place of our office is our homes. We don't work at the offices. Our offices are our homes. And our cars that we travel in the lower region.
So are we saying, just to be clear, that if there's a car in Surat, it's housed at Joe's,
no, Joe,
Councillor Hancock's,
at
or is
the
it?
office.
It's at the office, so she has to drive into the office.
Well,
To pick up a
that's
car.
in there, and one here, or,
Wouldn't it be
So-
safer in a house?
Well, could that be tied up in a report, Councillor Mcmullen?
well,
To
I'm
ask for options?
open, I just want to,
The policy that's just been voted on has ruled that out largely, so.
rule out,
Taking home
I didn't say take it home, I said based at the yard.
the conversation had gone in a different direction that
That's what
they've started.
Yeah, that's what my suggestion was, one at the chambers and one at the Surat office.
Why wouldn't you wait to see what the options people take before you make the staff do a report that may be redundant?
Okay, well, we've got to work out,
Is that a motion?
Okay, well, I'll withdraw that motion.
Once you make a decision, you can't, for instance, somebody might be using their private car and they hit a roo and that car's out, like, once you make a decision, can you not either, so the concern is that, Peteroo, you don't have a vehicle to do council business, is that when you can use a pool car, or is it, once you've made that decision, it's done?
No, well, I think we've got ad hoc use, so you would use it for any council business you know about, you know?
No, sorry. I don't know if you mean, say for me, I'm using my car and I do put off the road. I didn't say there's no car at Mitchell for me to do my, would they get the take home option then? Is that what you mean?
Or just,
Yeah, how are you going to get from home to the
Yeah, that's
depot?
what I mean. So there's going to be a lot of different scenarios that have to tick off.
And so it's really, really dark outside now. So we're going to have some councillors going to a depot driving a significant distance, getting out in the dark and then driving another significant distance.
Which is one of the points Joe made.
Well, I said the council office, when it's all lit up in the car park.
But Councillor Mcmullen withdrew the motion. Councillor O'Neill suggested we wait till see what the options are. The other thing too is that the policy can change during the term, so it may be looked at and see how it works, and you know, things can change. Councillor Taylor.
I wondered if I could move a motion. I would like to know if we could have a budget briefing every first and third Tuesday of every month, starting at 9:30, until our budget standing committee is finished. Please.
I'll second that.
Can it be brought onto the table, CEO? Or do we have to vote to be brought onto the table?
I'm just about to put that on the table.
No, it means on the agenda, you mean?
Oh, on the agenda, because Councillor Mcmullen's was about a motion we haven't left from.
Oh.
No, but I'm just asking how to do it.
We've got the standing order.
Yes.
But do we lay something about the briefings on the table at some stage during the meeting?
Anything else on the table?
On 14.1.
I just really believe we need to,
14.1's on the table.
we need to cover.
At the end, isn't it?
The last one today.
So you're really saying there'll be one each week? Is that your intent?
No, each fortnight.
Each
Each fortnight,
No, we've
first
already
and
got,
third.
we've already got one now, so, I mean, we've got a standing committee. So are you looking at
I'm looking at having
briefing or a standing?
a briefing, a budget briefing meeting, the Tuesday before our budget standing meeting.
The thing I've been looking at is that we actually need another standing committee for budget, because if we have to have it done by the end of July, I think it will end up into every week, and we will have to do it. So the question is, do you have a briefing where you just get information coming to you, or do you want to keep progressing the budget?
The only problem is, Mr Mayor, what I mentioned before is the minute you introduce another standing committee, you've got another set of agendas and minutes.
Yeah.
So you literally will be, at some meetings, you'll have two sets of formal meetings a week.
So we had a briefing.
So there will never be a break.
Okay.
So a lot of what we do at the moment is really conversation and sharing of information, and we can do that very productively and effectively without another administrative task on top of what we have. That would be my suggestion, Council.
And we could have the briefing and then having a budget meeting the next day, so it can lead into a decision-making forum.
Yeah.
The formal structure.
The formal structure, but it just means that we're getting through more information.
Because I just believe this budget is very important. We need to be really making inroads in a very short period of time. Because otherwise it's starting to concern me a little bit that we're not further along to where we need to be.
So that was the first and the third Tuesday.
So I'm allowed to move this motion?
Oh, sorry, councillor.
That's right.
Well, didn't we say in a previous resolution that we could ask for extra briefings,
That's right.
formally at our meetings?
Yeah.
That's right.
We do have that resolution on the table, so.
Is it not a majority mover and a second event?
Is that with the majority of councillors can do?
Yeah, so we'll go to a vote, I guess.
I've moved it.
I'm seconded.
Okay,
Just read.
so maybe we'll just read that again.
The council hold a budget briefing on the first and third Tuesday of each month commencing at 9:30 a.m. until the budget is adopted. And it might not be, like it doesn't, there's no time.
Can I suggest you say to be held to be timetabled until the budget is
Till we
adopted?
nail it.
Because it looks like you're going to be here until.
Oh, no, and there's no end time, because, you know,
I do want
we
to.
might only do 4 hours
And
one
we
day.
get a kickstart on the next one as well while we're at it.
And you may like to have a
However
finishing
you
time.
want to end that,
In front of
Julie.
Do you want to say from 9:30, what's a reasonable period of time for a briefing? I'm happy to provide it.
The reason
9:30 till 1:30?
I wouldn't put an end time because I think that therefore it leaves us the option to either be shorter or longer, bearing in mind people's commitments
So
around the
maybe
table.
we
Too
do
late,
this a new
it's too late
sentence.
after the budget's adopted, we're not much of a briefing after the budget's adopted.
No, sorry, we're meeting, Councillor Guthrie is meeting putting an end time to 9:30.
As in
Oh,
one.
sorry.
Like end,
Sorry.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
all for until the
Yeah,
budget's
Yeah,
adopted.
commencing at 9:30 a.m.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
To continue until the budget is.
Scheduled through.
Yeah,
to
with the actual budget.
To be scheduled,
Excuse me,
To
councillor
occur.
Guthrie, the 2021 budget?
Yeah,
Just
20
that in
has
there.
been,
We don't want to get
budget is
21,
adopted.
22.
The actual form.
That council hold a budget briefing on the first and third Tuesday of each month commencing at 9:30 a.m. scheduled through until 2021 budget is adopted.
and scheduled.
But wouldn't you have it on the other week, so, because what I've been thinking that we need to do is each week do budget, because when we used to get into budget, that's what we do it every week. So that officers had like a week to get things done, whereas you're just getting a glorified briefing before we actually make decisions. I think like there's a lot of rolling we've got to keep, we get updates and to go away and
I
do
would have thought we'd
that.
be on a roll the day before.
Definitely not a glorified budget,
No, but what
glorified
I mean
briefing
is-
is not what I was putting through.
I would be happy for the Tuesday prior to the ordinary meeting, because that does keep a rhythm.
Councillor Taylor, you could just amend your resolution to say the second and fourth Tuesdays.
If everybody's happy with that, I'm happy
And
with
that
it.
keeps the
So you
budget.
vote.
Is another option.
Okay, the second and the fourth Tuesday
Oh, yeah.
of each month.
Is that what you meant?
Yeah, so
So
every
long as
week
you
we
all
do a
turn up.
budget. Which
Well,
I
we
think
don't, we all have to turn up.
Until it's done.
till it's
Are
done.
you happy with that,
That's
Joe?
the incentive to get it done.
Yeah, I'm just very concerned, as I've said many times today, that we are not going to get this budget done in time with doing it once a fortnight.
Confidence is key.
The optimist.
Councillor Hinkle, so.
Okay, we have a mover, and is the seconder happy with that as well?
Yes,
The mover's happy, and is the seconder happy?
The seconder is Councillor Hancock.
Yeah. Councillor Taylor, you're happy?
Yep.
So you're both happy?
Both
Okay.
happy.
Any opposition to the motion? Does anyone want to speak to the motion? We'll go to the vote then. All those in favour? 9-0. Any other business, councillors?
We've got one item on the table,
Which one was that?
14.1.
Page 174
174.
of the open.
I must be right back.
27.
We were waiting,
14.1,
Roma Neighbourhood Centre.
we didn't get the info, we'll have to delay it till next meeting.
Mayor had a plan for that.
Yeah, so what did I say there? I'm happy to withdraw it and get some info. What do you want?
And the past resolutions be circulated to council.
Yeah. Okay.
Do we delay
Why
that?
don't we just withdraw?
I don't know what it was for sign.
Yeah, item 14.1, I'd like to move that I withdraw it and the past resolutions on this matter be circulated to councillors.
Yeah, you see.
We need a second.
You got, well, Mark, where's your seconder?
Yeah, we'll need a seconder.
Oh,
Councillor Burkett. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Yes,
Page 174.
sure.
Councillor, I just want to let you know, when we go outside, all the streets are going to be pretty major construction sites, so just be a bit mindful of if we can probably walk head to the highways and go down the line, right? Yeah, if we go up, there'll be a lot of time on there, so.
Thank you.
Okay, well, on that note, what time is it?
6:51.
10 to 7?
Oh.
6:51, I'll close the meeting at 6:51 PM. Thank you for your attendance. Thank you.